Imagine being told that a personal decision that you're making for your own personal well being is not really yours to make. Well, that's the reality for millions of women, girls, and people who can get pregnant. Something as personal as an abortion is the right of the person getting one and that person's alone, not the right of the government who is trying their hardest to restrict a right that is rooted in complete personal freedom and bodily anatomy. The topic of abortion isn't just about politics, no, it's about control and power, wanting complete control over someone's right to choose. Today, I will try to persuade you that people who are pro choice aren't just pro abortion, we are pro person. We want people to be able to have the freedom to decide what they want to do with their bodies without any government interference. Protecting the right to abortion is essential to ensuring individual liberty of choice and gender equality. To begin, let's look at the legal side of this debate. Now, we all know that America was born on the right to choose, so why not give people the right to choose if they want to be a parent? A person's right to make decisions for themselves has always been a basic human right, and by taking that away, you are also taking away someone's personal anatomy. In Judith Jarvis, A Defense of Abortion, she explains that even if you believe that a fetus is an actual person, the mother has a right to decide what shall happen in and to her body. She pointed out how anti-abortion laws always focus on the unborn fetus and not the person who's actually caring for it, giving the fetus an identity while simultaneously taking away the identity of the person who's carrying it. In On the Moral and Legal Status of Abortion, Mary Ann Warren expands on this by explaining that when asking questions about fetal rights, the question always depends on how we define moral community, which is asking who qualifies for moral and legal rights. The question of how are we to define the moral community, the set of beings with full and equal moral rights. Her saying this and framing it the way she did shows how our lawmakers passed these laws by treating the fetus and pregnant person with the same legal and moral standing, creating a unique ethical challenge that would lead to great conflicts of rights, the right of bodily anatomy. Now, looking from an ethical standpoint, recognizing the pregnant person's moral agency is incredibly essential to forming a human approach towards pregnancy. In Judith Jarvis Thompson's A Defense of Abortion, her analogy of a violinist explains it best. Explaining that even if people accepted that a fetus has a right to live, that doesn't mean that a person caring for it has to give up their body to sustain that one life. Thompson's emphasizes that every person has a right to live, but that a pregnant person has a right to decide what shall happen in and to her body, meaning that even if you believe that a fetus has a right to live, that person still has a right to decide if they want to continue on with the pregnancy. Ethical arguments have always centered someone's ability to make decisions for themselves, making decisions about their own future and their own anatomy. Human rights globally have always affirmed this idea. Amnesty International points out that forcing anyone to go through an unwanted pregnancy is a violation of someone's bodily anatomy. So looking from a moral standpoint, supporting someone's right to choose isn't completely disregarding the fetus, but respecting a person's right to not wanting a child. Research from Guttmacher Institute emphasizes that a reproductive choice is a core component of personal freedom, explaining that denying a person's right to abortion restricts someone's ability to shape their own life, health, and long-term opportunities. But before I move on to my next point, I'd like to show you a short video that greatly highlights the emotional weight and the personal reality behind ethical concerns.
Access to abortion in the United States has always been inequitable. The overturning of Roe v. Wade has significantly widened critical gaps. Abortion is now banned or severely restricted in many states. While bans hurt all people, they especially harm those already impacted by systemic racism and economic injustice. The fewer resources someone has, the harder it is to overcome barriers to abortion. Look at income. Latina, Black, and Indigenous women earn only slightly more than half the wages of white men. Health insurance is also critical to getting timely, affordable care. People of color are less likely to be insured, and more likely to be impacted by unjust policies like the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits Medicaid coverage of abortion. Where abortion is banned, people may self-manage their abortion with pills outside the formal U.S. healthcare system. Self-managing with abortion pills is safe and effective and done all over the world. But because anti-abortion politicians want to keep anyone from getting an abortion, self-managing can potentially put people at legal risk. This especially impacts people of color, who are already disproportionately targeted by the U.S. justice system. The U.S. abortion access crisis is a health equity crisis. Federal and state policymakers must step up to restore and expand abortion access, centering the needs and experiences of those most impacted by bans and restrictions.
Shifting to my final point, health and safety. The argument for accessible abortion becomes even more urgent.
We need to stop those two from destroying the bottom.
A person's ability to have access to a safe and legal abortion isn't just a political issue, but a medical necessity. So many people have died from backyard abortions because they did not have the proper necessities for a safe abortion. When you restrict someone's ability to get a safe abortion, people are always going to turn to other alternatives, even the incredibly unsafe ones, because people become desperate. It's important to know that someone's reason for an abortion doesn't always have to be some life-changing one. They can be simple reasons like, I didn't want to become a parent, or I simply just wasn't ready, are acceptable answers. A person shouldn't have to be on death's door to have access to abortion. You should never let your personal opinion affect someone else's life because of your selfish desires. So many people went through with unwanted pregnancies because the people around them influenced them to keep a baby they couldn't afford, didn't want, or couldn't mentally be there for. All because someone else wanted that baby to live for their own selfish reasons while knowing they were never going to help the person they forced to keep the baby. Protecting someone's right to an abortion is essential because you respect that individual as a decision maker, while also acknowledging that reproductive care is and always will be health care. Overall, the right to choose is a matter of the laws, ethics, and health arguments that all come down to the respect of a person's anatomy. As Judith Jarvis Thompson and Mary Ann Warren both emphasize, a person's moral and legal right to their bodily anatomy will always outweigh someone's opinion on their own personal decision. Amnesty International and Gut Matcher Institute further proves the point of reminding us that denying the access of safe abortions will always end up costing someone their life. Protecting someone's right to choose is not just a personal freedom, but ensuring a commitment to justice and safety to anyone who has to make this hard decision. Thank you.